What's going on, everybody? It's Jelly J NBA back with another video, and in today's video I'm going to be ranking all 30 starting shooting guards in the NBA using a tier maker. Yesterday I actually ranked all 30 starting point guards in the NBA using the same tier maker. I'll leave a link to that in the description below if you guys missed that. Go ahead and go check it out. I actually got this idea from my guy Tucker at Sporting Logically, so I'll leave his channel link in the description below. But before we get started, I just want to thank you guys for your continued support on this channel. It means the world to me. And if you are new here and enjoy the NBA, consider subscribing because I upload basically every day. Now let's get right into the video. Alright guys, so here we are. We're at the tier maker. Before I start, just throwing guys into certain categories, I want to explain what each tier means and the logic I went through for putting each player in a tier for anybody who missed the first episode in this series. So Superstar and Bum basically speak for themselves. Superstar is somebody who, in my opinion, is, a generational player, clearly a top 10 player in the league right now. Bum speaks for itself as well. Somebody that really doesn't deserve minutes. Bench and starter. Now, everybody here is a starter for their team right now. So the guys that I put in bench, I think for the majority of the other teams in the league would be a bench player, but the situation they're in now with their team, they are a starter. For starter, I have a high-end starter and a low-end starter. You'll see I have guys that, on the high end who are closer to all-star, and then on the low end who are closer to bench. Same thing for all-star. I have guys on the higher end who are closer to all-NBA, and then guys on the lower end who are closer to starter. And then for all-NBA, basically I went through the logic of these are guys that are clearly better than all-stars, but really aren't on that superstar tier yet. So that's what I went through for that. So obviously I'm not going to spend too much time on guys that are really in the starter category because there's going to be a lot of them. And then for the bum category, you'll see I'll make some sense there. All right, so we're going to start with a guy in Devon Booker. For me, it was between all-star, all-NBA. I like D-Book a lot. He's in Phoenix, so I can't blame him too much for not being able to reach the playoffs and winning, because that team is very, very dysfunctional, and that organization in general. But I went and go ahead and threw him in all-star. I think if he is, to show us that he can win a little bit more and get to the playoffs, and I think I would push him up to all-NBA. Colin Sexton's a guy who I put in the starter category. I really don't know what he does for your team on the impact of winning. I know he can be a good player for your team, but I don't really know what he can bring to your team besides offense, really. So that's why I threw him in starter. Buddy Hield, he's actually somebody that doesn't start for his team right now after Luke Walton made some changes in the middle of the year. But I went and threw him in the starter category just because he's a great shooter, and he's somebody that a lot of teams in the league, I think he would start for. You take a team like Milwaukee, if they were to make a move for him, a team like Philly, these competitive teams that are competing for a championship, I think he would be a very good piece for. CJ McCollum was really between a high-end starter for me and an all-star. I went and put him in all-star. Now I think once we get everybody in here, he's going to be on the lower end of all-star, but for right now I put him there. Now Devontae Graham is somebody who is actually in yesterday's video, and I actually asked some Hornets fans on Twitter who is the Hornets starting shooting guard, because I was looking around and they were like, well, it's actually Devontae Graham. And I actually got some backlash for this yesterday when I posted that people didn't believe Devontae Graham should be in the all-star tier. So I'll go ahead and put him in the starter tier. Now I did reason for why I didn't like him too much in the all-star tier, and that was because his efficiency and his defense. So that's what moved him down here for me. Bryn Forbes, I just don't think he's up to par with everybody else on this list, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw him in bum category. Dylan Brooks is somebody who has really improved this year and is kind of looking to become that third guy on the Memphis team with Ja and JJJ, so I threw him in starter. Now Donovan Mitchell, he's kind of on Devon Booker's tier. He was really between all-NBA and all-star for me. The reasoning for why he's not in all-NBA for me is simply just because the guys that I put in all-NBA, I don't think Donovan is on their tier yet, so I went through him in all-star. Duncan Robinson is a guy like Buddy Hield. He actually starts for his team, so it's kind of the opposite where Buddy comes off the bench. I went and threw Duncan in bench category because I think for the competitive teams, like I said, Milwaukee, Philly, I don't think he would start for them. I think he would be a great bench piece for them though. Evan Fournier is a guy who's a solid starter, so I went and threw him in there. Gary Harris is somebody who has been absolutely struggling the past 3 years. I really don't know, what his future with Denver is. I would not be surprised if he got traded. I actually went and threw him in the bum category. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I went and put him there. James Harden, I think, is clearly the best player at this position, so I went and threw him in superstar. I think he's, a brink top 5 player in the league, a lock at top 6. Jaylen Brown is somebody who has very much impressed me this year. His ability to play defense has improved so much, and him and Tatum are going to be a very, very dangerous duo for the next 5 to 10 years. I went through him in all-star. I think he's on the category of Donovan and D-Book. Josh Richardson's a solid starter. He's a good shooter. He can play defense for you, just, you know, a guy that you would want to start for your team. Drew Holiday is a guy that really is one of the better two-way players at this position. He was between very high-end starter for me and all-star. I went and threw him in all-star. Now, I know a lot of people are probably going to bash me for this because they said, oh, yeah, too many people in all-star, but I think Drew Holiday is better than every starter below him, so that was the logic there. Kevin Huerter is a guy who starts for his team now, but I think on the competitive teams, he would be a good bench piece. I think his career is kind of going to pan out to like a JJ Redick and a Kyle Korver, like a guy that's going to come in and be a great shooter for you, but not do much on D. Bradley Beal is a guy I really like. It was between high-end all-star and all-NBA for me. I put him in all-NBA because I think he's clearly better than everybody in the all-star category. Klay Thompson is the best overall shooter and best overall defender at this position, which for me puts him in the all-NBA tier. Karis LeVert is a guy that has come off multiple injuries and is really looking to become the third guy on that Brooklyn team if they aren't to trade for anybody with Kyrie and KD. I went and threw him in the starter category. Malik Beasley is another guy who's like the third playmaker on his team with D'Lo and Cat. I went and threw him in the starter category. It'll be very interesting to see how him and D'Lo work though, because Malik Beasley is very ball dominant. Now Norman Powell's probably one I'm going to get hate for. For me, it was between very high-end bench and starter for me. I went and threw him in starter. I think Norman Powell is very underrated. He's a good defender. He can play make for others and get his own. So I went and threw him in starter. That makes sense there.
LeBron has 13 points, 11 assists, and Green 13 points. That counts.
Paul George, I went and threw him in all-NBA just because when he's healthy, one of the best defenders at this position and one of the best scorers. So I put him in the tier with Bradley and Klay. RJ Barrett, I threw him in starter. I don't know like what he is as a player yet. I thought it was unfair to put him on bench just because I do feel like he has a lot of potential right now, but he definitely has to, you know, become a better shooter and find his game. Seth Curry, I put in bench, kind of like a guy like Kevin Huerter. He's a guy who's going to come in and be a great shooter for you, not be a great defender, but he's going to, you know, get his time when he's there. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I went and threw him in all-star. He's having a great season this year. He's probably going to win most improved player. So I went and put him in the all-star category. Victor Oladipo, now this is a guy that's interesting. When fully healthy, now we haven't seen Victor Oladipo fully healthy many times, but when fully healthy, I think I could throw him as the fourth guy in the all-NBA tier, but I went and put him in the all-star tier just because coming off the injuries that he's coming off of, I think it's gonna definitely kick him down a tier for me. Don't know why John Wall is here.
Hey, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Don't know why John Wall is here. Okay, just ignore that. Wesley Matthews, similar to the guys on the bench tier, I feel like he's a guy that is going to come in, be a good shooter for you. Now, Wesley Matthews is probably the best defender on this tier, but I just didn't put him in the starter category just because he's not somebody that you really want starting for you. Like, basically what I'm trying to say is he fits what Milwaukee is trying to do. Like, he's a guy that can shoot and can defend, and that's a guy that you need around Giannis. And last but not least, we have Zach LaVine. Now, for Zach LaVine, it was really between, you know, like starter and all-star for me. I know a lot of people, you know, kind of hate on the Bulls. He's kind of like D-Book. He's someone that I can't really blame for not having team success because Chicago is a mess right now. I went and threw him in all-star. I think he's somebody that can put up good numbers for you, but similar to guys like, you know, Sexton and Book, I don't know what he does for your team outside of, you know, scoring. That's definitely what's holding him back from moving up for me, in my opinion. That's the video, guys. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like and subscribe and keep an eye out for the next episode of this series dropping, which will be small forward, so that should be interesting.